Hello, hello, my wonderful seekers and finders. Today, we have a very special guest. So, I am subscribed to many um, channels on the topic of spiritual awakening and enlightenment on social media. And there is much great information out there. Many beautiful words, great words, words that point you to the right direction, words that help. This is wonderful. This is wonderful to see that we have so much information about this topic so readily publicly available. It's great. But it is very rarely that I run into such an uncommon combination of simple eloquence, maturity, and warmth that I have discovered in the content of today's guest. His name is Don Oakley. Don has studied intensively with both Eckhart Tolle and Adyashanti. He serves on the board of directors of Adyashanti's Open Gate Sangha. He is also the president of a nonprofit organization which runs a 160-acre well-being center in Tazewell, Tennessee. He is the author of 3 books, It's Time to Wake Up Now, Empty Wisdom, and his latest one, The Natural State, which are all available on Amazon. And of course, he also posts on social media his wonderful clips where I have discovered him. I have reached out to Don, and he has graciously agreed to be a guest on my channel. I wholeheartedly recommend his work, and I will be posting the links to his work in the description of this video. So please welcome Don Oakley.
Thank you very much, Artem, for that very kind and generous introduction. Pleasure to be here with you today. I look forward to it.
Thank you for being on my channel. It is a privilege for me to be speaking to you. So thank you. I really appreciate the time. I know you're very busy. So if you don't mind, maybe we can start with you saying a couple of words about your own story of awakening. Everybody's always curious.
Yeah, I think the spiritual, I was surprised to find out what spirituality was about. And because I wasn't growing up, I wasn't that interested in religion. But when I was younger in my 20s, I was interested in sort of understanding what this life was about. So that's how I probably wasn't that clear at the time, but that's how I would phrase my searching at that time. So I would search in the usual ways, appropriate to one's 20s. And, that sort of ran its course, and I got interested in being in the business world. I became a civil engineer and home builder, and I think part of the reasons for doing that is that I was somewhat intimidated by the world, and so it was like really forcing myself out into it, almost like taking this organism for a test drive to see what it could do. And so I became quite involved in that for 15, 20 years, and worked 80 hours a week and was fully involved in that lifestyle. And during a particularly difficult weekend, a week at work, my wife at the time was leaving for a trip, but she stopped by a bookstore, and she had some psychic powers, and she just said, I was walking down the aisle, I saw this book vibrating here, and left on her trip. And that was Eckhart Tolle's first book. And so that was really my introduction into a more focused spiritual journey. And I went to see Eckhart. This is in, I don't know, probably 96, 97, somewhere in that range. And for the next several years, I went on a lot of retreats with Eckhart. This was before he was well known, and the retreats were 30 or 40 people. And I remember him saying on one of these retreats that you'll never see this teaching on national television.
Well, he was wrong.
Yeah, he was wrong about that one. But it was
first book. It was The Power of Now.
Yeah, Power of Now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and actually, the first glimpse was on a retreat with Eckhart in Costa Rica. This probably the late '90s, and it had all the bells and whistles that one would hope for. All the energetics, all the the laughing and the tears rolling down the face, and everything just became just completely clear. And the phrase nowhere to go, nothing to do made sense. And I made the mistake of trying to conceptualize it right away by talking with someone, and because the energetics were there, and I mistook the energetics for the seeing. And so, as always happens from any experience, the actual experience itself at some point begins to fade, and almost like watching the tide go out. And since I believed that the energetics was the seeing, it felt like it was just fading from view. And it was within. I mean, I still have the memory of what was seen and understood at that time, but I hadn't embodied the real understanding of it. And so it faded from view, and for 5 years, and it was like I'd seen it, and I'd lost it. And but I went on a lot of retreats with Eckhart over the next several years, and through that I met a number of people who talked about Adyashanti, who was a American teacher that came out of the Zen Buddhism tradition. And so I first started to go see him in 2003, and within when I'm basically at every event I could, even though I was still working a lot of hours every week. And within about a year, I think it was in 2004, there was another shift that stuck this time, and it wasn't. There were other realizations over the next several years. But that was the one that sort of was fundamental and remained. And it was just it was without all the energetics that happened the first time. It was just a very clear seeing. And I had heard Adya say, I don't know, 50 times that talked about this, garden variety awareness. And there was something about hearing him say it, I don't know, for the 101st time. It was like, oh, you mean that awareness? The one that's sort of always there. You mean that one? And it was just simple like that, but that was the one that remained. Just the clarity of that. And then there were some other significant realizations over several years after that point. And then things sort of settled down to what I would describe now as more a sense of just contentment and willingness to live life on life's terms.
That's beautifully said. Yeah, willingness to live life on life's terms. Yeah. I can certainly relate. I was actually quite similar in some regards. I mean, I also did not care about spirituality for the longest time, and my profession was software engineering. In retrospect, I understood in some ways it was an escape from the relationships with people that was very painful for me.
Yeah,
and it was also very unexpected, and also, of course, the energetics are the most intense in the beginning. And I like how you said in one of your clips, you said that the spiritual awakening in some ways is actually the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's advertised as the end zone, and you get there and you're done. But yeah, I would say it's actually more true that it's the beginning. It's the end of the seeking,
Yep.
right? For the quite simple reason that once you've found what you were looking for, you're no longer seeking.
Yep.
But it's also the beginning of a much, well, a journey without apparent end, which is how to learn how the recognition of what we truly are, how that moves through this conditioned body-mind organism. And since the body-mind is of a much denser form, it just takes a while to really understand how that moves, and there's no apparent end to that. There's always more to see, always more at a more and more subtle level.
Oh yes, and it keeps uncovering the misconceptions that we have about ourselves, about other people.
Yeah. I mean, the conception that once you wake up to your true nature, everything's smooth sailing after that. You'll never stub your toe. And not true.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, I don't know about you, but with me specifically, some of my most kind of painful and teaching experiences happened after the end of seeking.
Yeah. In some sense, it's almost like the path gets narrower. It's like things that you could get away with, in your, when you were younger, and not even bother you, and the same thing and much less can be quite painful. And I see that as a good thing. I see it as a way of sort of life insisting that we it's not a punishment thing. It's like a teaching thing. Like you really you need to see this more clearly, and if you do, wonderful, and if you don't, it hurts.
Yeah. That's true. That's very true. It's not a punishment. It's a teaching. It's the way that I talk about it sometimes is that the state of dreaming, the separated state, is in a lot of ways the state of self-deceit, and all self-deceit or lies that we tell to ourselves are somewhat painful. I mean, it cannot be not painful in some way if you had to lie to yourself. So the uncovering of that can be quite unpleasant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we discover that we're not actually other than the other person, if there's a recognition that there's not a separate self entity here, then there's not if there's no self here, there's no other there. And then how do we treat people? And then if we say something that's hurtful or insensitive, it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts us.
Yes, it hurts us. Yes. Yeah. That's very true. And but just for the sake of my viewers, not to kind of paint the grim picture here, and the discovery of what lies beyond the identification, what lies beyond the ego, the discovery of the self is a profound relief, and the pain that comes afterwards, you will be ready for it. So, and it will be even blissful and joyful in some way, because it's a deeper discovery of the freedom. So, it's on this path. You're never given more than you can handle.
Yeah, I mean, it is an immense relief. I mean, looking back on life before that shift, I mean, I have memories of it, but if that was all life was ever going to be, it would be a profound disappointment.
Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's, I only mention these difficulties because they're so often ignored, right? Like, you wake up and everything's beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful. Yeah. And there's a sense of, regardless of what happens, it's still fine. And yet it can be difficult at the same time.
Yes.
Challenging.
Yes, it's very true. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you, I guess we could segue into this question now, because maybe that's the answer, is what is the topic? If you could list some topics or speak on some topics in spirituality that are spoken too rarely, and you would rather see people speak more of it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that's often missed is that there's a sense of the spiritual path allows us to sort of transcend living in this life through this body, through this conditioning, and it doesn't. The waking up doesn't eliminate. Doesn't whitewash this conditioning. The conditioning is still there. What it does allow us to do is to look at what conditioning may be present in this body mind from a perspective that doesn't feel so personal. And because of that, it's much easier to see, and that our job in with our own conditioning is really to be willing to see it as it is. It's our job isn't actually to try to change it, because any effort of this personal self to sort of fix my conditioning is why would we do that? Because it would feel better. It would feel better for who? Me. So it we can see it's a very, even though it benefits other people around us, let's say, but there's also a personal element in it. And it also doesn't work very well because it's really two things in our own head being opposed to each other. There's how I am, how I think, how I behave, and then there's another thought saying, but I don't like that. I want to fix that. I want to change that. So it's just two things in our own head arguing, and that's not going to resolve itself. But what does resolve it is that there's something transformational about this innate capacity of awareness that we all have. And if we as a body-mind organism are willing to see that conditioning, the awareness, in a sense, does the hard work.
Yeah. Some things do change, though, but things very rarely respond well to forcing.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
But things very rarely respond well to forcing.
Force doesn't work.
Forcing a change, right? Yeah, but it's the magic of awareness, isn't it? Right. So, first of all, nothing can be changed before it is recognized.
Yeah.
Before it is recognized and accepted.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't understand it,
exactly.
it's not going to change. We're just, Nisargadatta had a really direct quote about that. It's just, if we haven't really investigated the things that sort of the karmic tendencies that cause us to suffer, if we don't really investigate it, we're just continue to be subject to that same cause and effect.
Yeah, that's right. I remember I watched one of your clips in which you quoted somebody. I don't remember who, but I really loved it. You said karma is unexamined belief.
Yeah, that was Byron Katie. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Same. Very
very true. Very laconic and very true. Yeah. So it is. So it's the magic of awareness is that it's exactly through this investigation of both the beliefs and the energetic pains or discomforts in the body, then the change that needs to take place takes place.
Yeah. I mean, our part of that transformation is to be willing to see wherever that path leads. And some of it can be uncomfortable, and some of it, it gets easier when we realize that even the discomfort plays
an important role. Yeah,
plays a role. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. So would you say that? So in my view, the topics that one of the topics that isn't spoken as much as I would like is the subsequent transformation, the transformation of the human being, the transformation of the individual. Would you agree?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's one's personal transcendence is beautiful, freeing, liberating, makes sense out of this life, all of that, and then at some point there's a sense of, well, if I'm so free, am I free enough to live this life? Through this conditioned form, under these circumstances, am I that free? And that has a different sense to it than sort of holding ourselves, in a transcendent position from life, like a rejection of life. And, you could make the philosophical argument, well, life is all appearances and it's really about awareness. But, they both arise from the same source. And so to say that, one is somehow necessary and the other one isn't, and the other one's to be dismissed, I think misses the larger issue.
You could also make another argument. You can say that there's a value in the awakening itself, because it makes us kinder, it makes us more compassionate, it makes a better world, right? So and the reason we want to help others, and the reason we want to spread this, is that we know on some level that the more people are aware of their true nature, the better the society will be, actually.
The fundamental understanding is that it's all one creation. It's all one manifestation, one source, unmanifest and manifest, formless, form. All of it is one expression. And then then the question arises, well, how do I function, in an authentic way without understanding? I mean, what, do I, how do I treat the plants in my yard? How do I treat the river? How do I treat other people? How do I, what kind of, how do I function in the world? What kind of job do I have? All of that comes into play. And so if we're sort of submitting how we move in the world to that kind of understanding, then yeah, of course it's going to have an effect on, and we don't know what that effect will be. We can't, the outcome of whatever, we may choose to do is not, there are a lot more factors involved than just our own personal behavior. Yeah. So we can't get too concerned about outcome, but what we can be concerned about is how we function moment to moment. That we can do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. So the next question that I would have for you is, if you could speak a little bit about your primary approach to teaching.
I would say one thing is I don't see the other person as a problem. I see everybody as being fundamentally pure, and that awareness is already fully present and complete. And yes, there's some sort of, can be some overlays that are in the form of beliefs about oneself that we can work on and look at, and basically for the purpose of seeing that they're not ultimately true. They may be relatively true, but they're not ultimately true. And this changes the dynamic, because it's not, I don't see that I hold anything special. Because I recognize the other person is, that the awareness that is undifferentiated in any way.
Is an equal.
So by holding, just with that understanding, then we can talk about other things. But I know deep down that that it's not actually true. That the beliefs about oneself, that I'm not worthy, that I'm not lovable, that I'm not good enough, that I don't deserve this, and all of that are just beliefs that we can try to work our way through. But the fundamental understanding is that everything is complete already.
I see. So yeah, I mean, it's very close to me also, because I try to relate to my students in the same way. Yeah. I think just in general, not being judged is tremendously transformative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it opens the possibility of relating to oneself in a similar way, of not judging oneself in a similar way.
Yeah, because the judgment implies responsibility, like and all of us picked up this, our own unique dose of conditioning, and we picked it up at innocence. I mean, we didn't. It wasn't like, when I was 10 years old, I decided, when I grow up, what I really, really want is just to be shy and intimidated by the world. That's what I want. We didn't do that. It just sort of happened. And regardless what the conditioning is, it's true for everyone. So if we see that conditioning was picked up in innocence, there's really no judgment or guilt or shame that's really appropriate. It's like, okay, that's true, but it's true for the body mind, and what it doesn't touch is this capacity of awareness to be aware of that conditioning. Different.
Yeah, and I could also relate very deeply when you were describing working with false beliefs about oneself, like the false, very painful to a lot of people belief. The belief of being unlovable, the belief of being undeserving.
Yeah.
Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, there's sometimes the belief of being entitled. So I mean, we can, different people move to different. One is a plus, one is a minus. Still.
Yeah. Well, that's what most people do with it, right? I mean, they think, okay, I'm unworthy. What do I got to do? What do I have to do to feel really worthy? How can I move the needle to that, over to the worthy side? But they're both part of the same paradigm, right? I mean, just the sense of, well, as if your existence had anything to do with either one of those.
Right. Yeah. Or as if you have chosen it. I don't remember who again, because I have very bad memory for names, but one of the masters said, forgive yourself for being born.
Yeah. There's a wonderful story about the Dalai Lama. I think it was back in the 1990s sometime. And an American psychologist went over to India and met with the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama speaks pretty good English, and they were having this conversation, and the American psychologist asked him about unworthiness, and the Dalai Lama went back and forth with his translator and tried to understand what this unworthiness was, and finally he sort of got a sense of it, and his response is, we don't have it here. In Tibet, it's not a thing. It's just a cultural thing, like, it's not an innate thing that somebody, has been infected with. That it's just an idea.
We infect each other with it. I mean, I'm not sure about Tibetan societies. From my experience, it is certainly present in modern day China and other Eastern societies. We kind of, it's that thing that is very easy to pass on when you have it. If you have this fundamental sense of I'm not good enough unless I'm this, and that.
Yeah.
And you treat your children the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really prevalent in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like that we're somehow, I mean, maybe it's tied in with original sin and so on, but it's almost like it's sort of like guilty until proven otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to demonstrate your right to exist.
Yep.
Somehow.
Earn it.
Earn it. Yes, earn it.
Earn your right to exist. Yeah. Many students of mine, by the way, when they had like this, initial opening or initial realization, spoke about it to me in the same terms. Like, it feels like I have the right to exist now. It feels like I don't have to justify my own existence anymore, and that's extraordinarily beautiful. When it happens, it's very painful to justify your own existence all the time. And I spent years in it, and it's.
And it's a never-ending project,
Oh yeah, of course.
If you were worthy yesterday, but how about today?
Of course, yes. And you can also find new things. Okay, so you've done that, right? But look, some other people have done even more. So
yeah, the mind is really good at that. It's like, yes, but what about this?
Yeah, it's amazing into kind of not seeing that the same patterns just repeats itself in different ways. And if this was the project that we needed to do to feel good about ourselves, then the next one is also fundamentally the same nature, but it feels different. Or if if you used to kind of look at the world in this hierarchical matter, who's better and who's worse, right? Then once you move to spirituality, you oftentimes start looking at people in the spiritual hierarchies.
Yeah, it's the same game, different arena, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Thank you for that.
I wanted to. It just occurred to me to mention something about.
Yes, please.
I spoke about this first glimpse that I had on a retreat in Costa Rica. And how it sort of faded quickly, and some years later, before I had the shift that stuck with me, Adyashanti talked about when that awakeness first occurs, avoid the tendency to try to hold on to it. And I didn't understand the advice at the time or why, but I remembered it. And because every sort of fiber of your body wants to hang on to it, like, oh, feels so good, and so obvious. I don't want to, and I should be able to just hold on to it, right? But the thing is, the only thing that would want to hold on to it is me, right? This personal self, which is exactly the thing that's going to be pushing it away. Not that it goes anywhere, but the sense of it. So that turned out to be extraordinarily good advice.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and thank you very much uh, for repeating it. Yeah, that's very good advice, and many people need to hear it. Yeah, yeah, thank you. All right, okay, and so I would like to also ask you, and I know that this is a topic which you speak a lot. I, I personally haven't read your book, but I got the impression that the first book that you wrote covers it in detail, is the myths and misconceptions about awakening. And I know you have, by the way, which I recommend my viewers to check out Don's content. He has lots of wonderful uh, bullet points videos where he speaks very eloquently uh, and beautifully about those. But if you could, maybe for the current viewers, speak somewhat about your most common myths and misconceptions that you see that people exhibit about awakening.
Hmm. Okay.
I think it's one of your favorite topics. I think, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think uh, that those ideas about awakening become the roadblocks to awakening.
Most
Right.
definitely.
It's like, I mean, there's a lot of really common ones, like we've mentioned one already, I'm not good enough,
Hmm.
and, maybe for some other people or some special person, but certainly not me, not with my, my faults and my history and all of that. And then it's just a belief, right? We don't actually know if that's true or not. But the belief is enough to create um, what appears to be a roadblock. But the roadblock's entirely composed of our belief. Or we could have the belief that what I need to do is meditate for 30 years, and then maybe I'll be eligible. And then that becomes the view that through which we go through life. Like, okay, just sort of this dogged determination to meditate. Put in my hour a day and just no matter what, and um, but I have to do it for it's whatever I'm looking for is not present now. That's the fundamental misunderstanding, right? And that's the reason for the whole seeking movement, um, because what I'm looking for is not here now, and so I need to go somewhere to find it. The next idea, the next guru, the next teaching, the next spiritual experience.
Hmm.
That's a big one. Sort of unusual, spectacular spiritual experiences are evidence of my spiritual advancement. No, they're evidence of your having had spiritual experiences. They may or may not be related to your awakening. They're not. I mean, it's this particular skill set, um, but it's not what we wake up to is what is present for whatever the experience is. And all experiences, even spectacular spiritual experiences, have, I mean, the Buddha told us this a long time ago, has the quality of impermanence. They don't last, you know. But the belief is that, what I want, what I need is to have that particular experience. I know it's out there. I just haven't had it yet. And it'll be so powerful. It'll just catapult me into eternal bliss forever. That's the belief. And so we wait for that particular experience and miss the opportunity every day to encounter what is truly living this life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's living this? What our most essential beingness is um, can't be absent, like ever.
That's true.
And if it can't be ever absent, it must be present now. And so we don't need to wait 20 or 30 years. We don't need to wait for some high energetic state. You know, it's available at any moment, actually. but we fail to see it because we're not looking in the right direction. We're looking out. Our eyes are pointed in that direction, and we think it's somewhere out there, or out in the future, or out somewhere other than here. Can't be here, not me. So yeah, there's lots of possibilities for creating ideas that then get in the way of actually realizing. So it's significant that and important to see the futility of trying to imagine our way to enlightenment, because whatever we imagine it'll be won't be. Because whatever we imagine it'll be or feel like is just the next concept, and it's not a concept. It's just our essential being, which is already true, already here. And so if we, it's just like what magicians do. If they convince people that this is what they're doing, this is what you have to look at, but they're actually doing something else entirely, people miss it. And it's the same thing if we believe that the awakeness looks like this and you have to do XYZ to get there, then we miss the possibility of seeing what's already present, and yet we live our entire life in the present.
Yeah. 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 Very beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I myself, speaking about the spiritual experience, I myself have discovered in my own experience that the yearning for, and in some ways even the capacity to have wonderful outwardly spiritual experiences is proportional to the dissatisfaction with the present experience.
Yeah.
So in my view, the investigation of the present experience and the dissatisfaction with it leads to a greater satisfaction, and ultimately to actually having those spiritual experiences by themselves.
Yeah. It's almost like saying, we look out and there's the entirety of creation out there, plants, animals, weather, storms, other people, all this spectacular display of manifested life. And we say, yeah, but I want something special.
I want something more.
I want something more, that'll be proof of something.
Yeah. And then in this wanting for something more, we're missing it. We're just missing it. Yeah. But it's also, in some ways also it's not our fault, because if we yearn for something more, it means the dissatisfaction is there, and the dissatisfaction is there usually because of not only of the beliefs that we carry, which are wrong, but also because of the unresolved pain that still exists in our hearts.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, it seems almost necessary because it's so common, that people tend to come to spirituality, not always, but often, out of a painful experience or a painful life to that point.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's if everything's working out well, everything's going your way, you're not likely to
that's right.
be interested in this.
I came out of desperation, and I also say, if there was no pain in your heart, if there was no dissatisfaction, there could be no question of enlightenment. There would be no question of seeking. You would just be living your life.
So I mean, it's been called divine discontent. Discontent that's not just to make us suffer. That's not the point of it. It's almost like life saying, yeah, but just look over this way a little bit more. When you go in that direction, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it's built into, I mean, a lot of it's cultural, of course, but a lot of it's built into thinking that that I need something other than whatever's happening now in order to be happy,
Yeah.
right? So there's this wanting, like I am this now, but if I had that, I would feel, and we can fill in the blank, right? And so the question is, because it's not so much the object, it's how I would feel once I had that object, right? So, if let's say we, wanted a new car, and we longed for the new car, and we finally got the new car, it would satisfy that sense of wanting, but only temporarily, right? And but if the capacity to make us happy was embedded in the car, as long as we had the car, we'd be happy. But it doesn't work that way. All it does is sort of relieve that sense of wanting temporarily, and then we're back to wanting again. But I'd suggest that all of that wanting is sort of a misplaced longing, that everybody in some way is a seeker, seeking to be happy, to feel okay about themselves, feel comfortable in their own skin. And, different people have different ways of going about that, but, it's the same underlying movement. And as long as we believe that we require something outside of ourselves to satisfy that, then we're always seeking the next thing. Right?
I think this is an extraordinary important observation, and again, very well said. We could say that fundamentally, almost everything that people do is they try to become happy.
Yeah.
And when you said it so well and so accurately when you said that it's the misdirection.
Yeah.
So we try to find it somewhere outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because there's this illusion. Because yes, it brings us temporary relief.
Yeah.
And if you've played this game for long enough, you may already know that it's going to be temporary, but you just don't know how else to search for it.
Yeah.
Other than in the external.
Pretending that we don't actually know that.
Yeah.
Try the next thing.
Yeah. But those who have lived for long enough kind of already have this intuition that whatever they will achieve, it will make them feel good for a while.
Yeah. So that's a really valuable thing. And it seems like it, for most people, it takes, for me, it certainly did, took a certain amount of lifespan to realize that. It's almost like we, a number of false starts. It's not that we don't learn anything from it. It's not that they're not necessary. I mean, they're necessary because they actually happened. But it seems like a certain amount of life experience is almost needed to be able to come to that conclusion. Like, okay, maybe I need to look at this differently. And that's a really important turning point. It's like, we're going out and out and out, and at some point we turn around and come back the other way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Unfortunately, it makes it more complicated because we live in the society that reinforces the illusion that happiness lies elsewhere, that happiness lies in the external, that it lies in the circumstances.
Yeah, well, that's where the mind is.
Yeah, if only you had like a perfect partner, if only you were successful. Oh, look at all the smiling people in your Instagram feed, or in the advertisement, everywhere. It's everywhere, and so it takes a certain amount of courage or desperation, or however you may call it, to start turning.
Yeah, one of the, I think, challenging things for people getting into spirituality, when they finally decide, okay, maybe I need to look here, and figure this out first, because until we really understand what it is that's living this life, it sort of brings into question any, why are we doing what we're doing, and who are we doing it for, you know. But anyway, to come, even after, when we talk about this 180-degree turnaround and come back to the self, I mean, for nearly everyone, one of the first things they encounter when they come back into looking within is encountering their psychology. And it feels like we're looking within because it feels like it's happening in our head, but and it can be quite unnerving when we start becoming more aware of all the things that are going through our head and our thought patterns and so on. It can actually create a sense of greater discomfort for a while.
Oh yeah,
And
most of the time.
hey, wait a minute! I thought this spiritual thing was supposed to make me peaceful, and what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
But in a very real sense, all of that psychology is still on the outside, because that from the perspective of awareness, it's the awareness that's noticing all of those thought patterns, all of the emotional patterns, all of the history, all of that. And so it's really viewing something. We used to see it out on the other side of our eyeballs, and now we're seeing it in our own head. But it's really still looking outwardly. And so at some point is recognizing that this awareness isn't actually diminished by the psychology. It's also not enhanced by it either, right? It is awareness. It's all happening within the awareness of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and the mind also loves to do it. Like, what are we doing? This is not productive. This is not going to have its light. We should go do something productive.
Right.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. And in a lot of ways, I don't know to which extent you would agree with this, but in my experience, a lot of this psychology that is being looked at, not all of it probably, but a lot of it was created as some sort of a defense mechanism or coping mechanism to cope with the pain of separation, the pain of discontent, and to perpetrate the illusion that we need to be a certain way in order to earn a right to existence, in order to earn love.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a little kid and you're dependent on big people to, feed you and give you a house to live in, and take care of you and tell you about how the world works, and it's not unreasonable to sort of as a little kid trying to navigate that and figure out what they have to do to remain in the parents' good graces, more or less, because there's a dependency there.
Of course, yeah.
And so in that sense, there's not really blame. There's not blame on the parents' side either, because they were also conditioned.
Yeah. So listen, this was wonderful. I'm very, very grateful for you to come and to share your knowledge and your wisdom and your experience. And I sincerely hope that this talk will be useful for my students. So once again, folks, I highly recommend Don's work. To wrap up, would you mind telling us a little bit about what you offer? So I already listed 3 books, so they're all available on Amazon. And my understanding is that you host in-person retreats in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, my wife and I live in Northeast Tennessee. We moved here about 17 years ago, bought 160 acres of raw land, and have built a retreat center since then. So we live here, and we lead retreats, weekend retreats in person once a month. Beginning this month, we're also doing a live streaming of the retreats. We had someone here that figured out how to do that. And then twice a month on the first and third Tuesdays, I have an online Zoom talk in the afternoon and evening, both, that is free and is on our website, either donoakley.com website or Wellbeing Retreat Center website also shows the events. So yeah, we offer those different possibilities. And then I also post on the usual social media platforms. So.
Instagram. I found you on Instagram. Yeah, and
Okay.
I think you're also present on TikTok. And
yeah, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. So yeah. Well, I really enjoyed being on your program, Artem, and enjoyed your questions and your sharing, and really appreciate having me on your program.
Thank you, my friend. Once again, thank you very much for coming. I wish you the best of luck in your work. That's an extraordinarily important work. And thank you for your warmth. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your wisdom. And it's just so joyful for me to find another teacher who approaches it with so much warmth and compassion and understanding and helps the world. That's what I'm also trying to do. I'm trying to help the world. And yes, of course, it's all a dream, from the perspective of death, but that's a very one-sided perspective.
Yeah.
We try to make a difference, and I'm always very happy when I find a teacher whom I can wholeheartedly recommend.
Well, thank you very much, and good luck with your teaching. I'm respectful of what you are doing as well, and bringing awareness into the world and working with others on it.
Same to you, my friend. Same to you. Many, maybe some years from now, my wife and I will also plan to open a retreat. So maybe we'll visit you some days and years in the future, learn something from you about what it's like to operate a retreat center, a well-being center. You live there, right? My understanding.
Yeah, we live there full time. Yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, wonderful to be with you.
Thank you.